Denise Carter entered Greenwood Mall for shopping. To the staff, she looked like just another black woman with a heavy purse, an easy mark to accuse. Security guards Miller and Davis tightened their circle, steps heavy with authority, eager to corner her. Then came Officer James Raines, loud, smug, the enforcer of fear cloaked as law. But what none of them saw was the fire behind her calm eyes. 2 decades of service, a captain's badge earned through grit and resolve. They thought she'd yield quietly. They were wrong, and in one moment, arrogance would meet its reckoning. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The Saturday afternoon sun streamed through Greenwood Mall's skylights, casting warm patches across the polished floors. Captain Denise Carter walked with purpose, her leather purse swinging gently at her side. After a long week of paperwork and personnel meetings, the simple task of buying her niece's birthday present felt like a breath of fresh air. "Something special for Jasmine," she murmured to herself, scanning the storefronts. The mall buzzed with weekend shoppers, families with strollers, and teenagers hanging out by the fountain. Denise allowed herself to relax, pushing thoughts of work aside. That peaceful feeling lasted exactly 8 minutes. She noticed them in the reflection of a window display. 2 security guards maintaining what they probably thought was a subtle distance. The taller one, whose name tag read Miller, spoke into his radio while staring directly at her. The shorter guard, Davis, kept glancing between her and his partner, looking uncomfortable. Denise's jaw tightened. 20 years on the force, and she could spot surveillance a mile away. She'd been followed in stores before. It was nothing new, but that didn't make it hurt any less. "Copy that," Miller's voice carried across the corridor. "Black female, brown leather bag, blue sweater. Keeping eyes on." Denise's fingers curled into fists. The urge to spin around and confront them surged through her body. She could flash her badge, watch their faces drop, make them squirm. But no, she was off duty, shopping for her niece. She wouldn't let them ruin this. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into Crystal's boutique, a high-end jewelry and accessories store. The sweet scent of vanilla perfume filled the air, and soft jazz played overhead. Behind the counter, a middle-aged white woman in a crisp blazer, Linda, according to her name tag, stiffened visibly. "Can I help you?" Linda's tone was sharp, her smile not reaching her eyes. "Just browsing, thanks." Denise kept her voice steady and pleasant, though her heart hammered against her ribs. She moved toward a display of delicate charm bracelets, exactly the kind Jasmine had been hinting about for months. Through the glass, Denise could see Linda following her movements in the mirror behind the counter. Outside the store entrance, Miller and Davis hovered, poorly pretending to study a directory map. "These are all locked cases," Linda announced loudly, appearing at Denise's elbow. "Items can only be removed by staff." "I understand," Denise replied, still focusing on the bracelets. "When I'm ready to see something, I'll let you know." Linda didn't move away. Instead, she shifted closer, her eyes darting between Denise and her purse. The leather bag, which Denise had saved 3 months to buy, suddenly felt like it was burning against her side. "Actually," Denise said, straightening up, "I'd like to see that silver bracelet with the butterfly charm." Linda hesitated, then slowly reached for her keys. As she opened the case, Denise noticed her hands trembling slightly. The manager's anxiety was palpable, as if she expected Denise to grab the whole tray and run. The bracelet was beautiful, delicate links catching the light, tiny crystals sparkling along the butterfly's wings. Denise smiled, imagining Jasmine's face lighting up when she opened it. "I'll take," she began. "Excuse me," Linda cut her off sharply. "I need to see inside your bag." The boutique went quiet. Even the jazz seemed to fade away. Denise felt heat rising up her neck as other shoppers turned to stare. "Excuse me?" She kept her voice low, controlled. "A piece of jewelry is missing from this case." Linda's voice grew louder, more confident as Miller and Davis entered the store. "I saw you slip something inside your purse." Denise's hands began to shake, not from fear, but from fury. "That's absolutely false. I haven't touched anything except the bracelet you just showed me." "Ma'am, please cooperate." Miller stepped forward, hand resting on his radio. "Empty your bag on the counter." Denise drew herself up to her full height, feeling the familiar mantle of authority settle over her shoulders. "I will not. I haven't stolen anything, and you have no right to search my personal property without probable cause." Davis shifted nervously behind his partner. Linda's face had gone red, but she pressed on. "Either show us what's in the bag, or we'll call the police." "This is harassment," Denise stated firmly. "You've been following me since I entered this mall. You're targeting me because I'm black, and I will not submit to this humiliation." Miller moved closer, trying to use his bulk to intimidate her. "Last chance. Open the bag, or things get complicated." Denise stood her ground, heart pounding but voice steady. "I'm not opening anything. You have no right, no probable cause, and no evidence. Back. Off." "That's it." Miller grabbed his radio. "Code 10 at Crystal's boutique. Subject refusing to comply, requesting police backup." Other shoppers had gathered at the entrance, phones raised. Linda wrung her hands, looking less certain now that things were escalating. Davis kept glancing at the exits, as if contemplating escape, but Denise didn't move. She'd faced down armed suspects and corrupt officers. She wouldn't be bullied by mall security and a prejudiced store manager. Her purse stayed firmly at her side, her eyes locked on Miller's. "You're making a very big mistake," she said quietly. The tension crackled between them as they waited for backup to arrive, neither side willing to back down. The tension in Crystal's boutique thickened as Denise maintained her composure, even as her anger threatened to boil over. "Before you continue with these baseless accusations," she said evenly to Linda, "why don't we review your security cameras? They'll show I haven't taken anything." Linda's confidence wavered for a moment. "The cameras? They're right there." Denise pointed to the obvious black dome in the ceiling corner. "And there, and there. So let's watch the footage together." Miller didn't wait for Linda's response. He grabbed Denise's right arm, his fingers digging into her skin. Davis, looking increasingly uncomfortable, took her left arm with a gentler grip. "You've been warned," Miller growled. "Now you're interfering with security operations." Denise's police training kicked in. She could have broken their holds in seconds, but that would only escalate things. Instead, she kept her voice steady and loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear. "I am calmly requesting to view security footage that would prove my innocence." "That's not interference. That's a reasonable solution." The boutique's entrance suddenly darkened as a broad-shouldered figure pushed through the onlookers. Officer James Raines strutted in, his badge gleaming, his face twisted in what seemed like anticipation rather than concern. Denise knew Raines by reputation. The complaints about him regularly crossed her desk. Aggressive arrests, excessive force, particularly targeting black shoppers. He'd somehow avoided serious consequences, protected by connections in the department. "What do we got here?" Raines boomed, making a show of surveying the scene. His hand rested casually on his weapon, a deliberate intimidation tactic. Linda rushed to explain. "She won't let us check her bag for stolen." "Another one causing trouble?" Raines cut her off, focusing his hostile gaze on Denise. "Always the same story, isn't it?" "Officer," Denise began, maintaining her professional tone, "this is a misunderstanding that could be easily resolved by—" Without warning, Raines grabbed her shoulder and slammed her against the boutique's glass wall. The impact rattled the display cases inside, and several shoppers gasped. The glass was cold against her cheek as Rains pressed her harder against it. "Don't tell me how to do my job," he snarled close to her ear. "Hands behind your back, now!" "This is excessive force," Denise declared loudly, still keeping her voice controlled despite the rage and humiliation burning in her chest. "I have rights, and you are violating them." "Rights?" Rains laughed, yanking her arms back roughly. "You've got the right to shut up while I add resisting arrest to your charges." The handcuffs clicked shut, unnecessarily tight. Around them, the crowd had grown larger. Phones were out everywhere, recording the scene. Some people whispered in disgust. Others called out that this wasn't right, but no one intervened. Rains spun her around and started marching her toward the mall corridor. Each step was a study in controlled fury for Denise. She'd spent her career fighting against exactly this kind of abuse of power. And now, here she was, experiencing it firsthand. The mall's main corridor had come to a standstill. Shoppers pressed against storefronts, phones raised high to capture the spectacle of a well-dressed black woman being paraded out in handcuffs. Denise held her head high, even as her shoulders screamed from the awkward angle of her arms. "You're making a scene for nothing," Rains announced loudly, playing to his audience. "Should have just cooperated." They reached the mall's side exit, where Rains's patrol car waited. The afternoon sun was harsh after the mall's filtered light, and Denise had to blink several times to adjust her vision. "Before this goes any further," she said clearly, turning to face the growing crowd of onlookers, "I think you should know something, Officer Rains." "Save it for booking," he snapped, reaching for the car door. "I'm Captain Denise Carter, 15th Precinct." Her voice carried across the parking lot. "My badge is in my front pocket, which you would have known if you'd bothered to ask for identification before assaulting me." The crowd's murmuring grew louder. Several people moved closer, phones still recording. Rains's face flickered with uncertainty before hardening into a sneer. "Sure you are," he scoffed, but there was a new edge of nervousness in his voice. "And I'm the police commissioner." "Check my pocket," Denise insisted. "Left side." Rains hesitated, then roughly patted her pocket. His hand froze as it encountered the familiar shape of a police badge. Slowly, he withdrew it, the gold shield catching the sunlight. "This is fake," he declared, but his voice had lost its authority. "Another charge, impersonating an officer." The crowd's reaction was immediate. "She's a captain," someone called out. "He arrested a police captain for shopping?" another voice added. The phones kept recording, documenting every second of Rains's increasingly obvious discomfort. "I suggest you remove these handcuffs," Denise said quietly, "before you dig yourself any deeper, officer." "This badge could be fake," Rains insisted, but his hands were shaking slightly. "I'm taking you in for verification and adding charges for—" "For what?" Denise challenged, keeping her voice steady despite her mounting anger. "Shopping while black. Is that still your standard procedure, Officer Rains?" More phones appeared in the crowd. Someone was live streaming. Rains's face had turned an ugly shade of red as he realized how badly he'd miscalculated. But instead of backing down, he grabbed Denise's arm again, trying to force her into the patrol car. "You're just making it worse for yourself," he growled. "Fake badge, resisting arrest, interfering with an officer." The crowd's volume increased, their outrage palpable. Denise stood her ground, even in handcuffs, her voice carrying clearly over the growing chaos. "Every second of this is being recorded, officer. Every abuse of power, every violation of protocol. Are you sure you want to continue?" The crowd's anger swelled like a wave, their voices rising in unified protest. "Let her go!" someone shouted from the back. Others took up the call, and soon dozens of people were chanting, their phones held high like torches in the fading afternoon light. Rains shifted uncomfortably, still gripping Denise's arm, but clearly unsure how to proceed. His usual tactics of intimidation were backfiring spectacularly as more mall visitors stopped to join the growing assembly. "This is going viral," a teenage girl announced loudly, her eyes on her phone screen. "Already got 1,000 shares on TikTok. Y'all seeing this? They arrested a black police captain for shopping." Denise remained perfectly still, her posture straight despite the bite of the handcuffs. She'd dealt with countless confrontations in her 20 years of service. But being on this side of the cuffs brought a new perspective, one that burned deep in her chest. A mall security supervisor came running out, his face flushed with panic. Behind him, a woman in a crisp business suit clutched her phone, speaking rapidly into it. The supervisor took in the scene, the angry crowd, the handcuffed police captain, the increasingly agitated Officer Rains, and his face went pale. "Internal Affairs is on their way," the woman in the suit announced, identifying herself as Patricia Wells, the mall's PR director. "Officer, perhaps we should move this situation inside?" "There's nothing to move inside," Denise stated firmly. "These handcuffs need to come off. Now." More phones appeared in the crowd. Live streams multiplied. Comments and shares exploded across social media platforms. The story was spreading faster than anyone could control it. "Look at these numbers," someone called out. 20,000 views already." Patricia Wells stepped closer, her professional smile strained. "Officer Rains, given the circumstances, perhaps we should—" "I don't take orders from mall management," Rains snapped, but his bravado was cracking. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool air. A police cruiser pulled into the parking lot, its lights flashing but siren silent. Sergeant Robert Watkins stepped out, his weathered face carefully neutral as he assessed the situation. He'd worked with Denise for years, knew her reputation for integrity. "Officer Rains," Watkins called out, his tone deceptively casual. "Want to tell me why you've got a police captain in cuffs?" Rains's grip on Denise's arm finally loosened. "Sergeant, I was responding to a theft call. This woman claimed to be a captain, but—" "That's Captain Carter," Watkins interrupted. "Your commanding officer's commanding officer. The badge you're holding? It's real. I suggest you verify that fact quickly." The crowd had gone quiet, watching the drama unfold. Rains's face worked through a series of emotions: anger, fear, calculation. Finally, with shaking hands, he produced his keys and removed the handcuffs. Denise rubbed her wrists, noting the red marks where the metal had dug into her skin. She'd have bruises tomorrow, evidence of yet another routine encounter gone wrong. Patricia Wells stepped forward, speaking loudly enough for the crowd's phones to pick up every word. "Captain Carter, on behalf of Greenwood Mall, I want to extend our sincerest apologies for this unfortunate incident. We pride ourselves on being a welcoming space for all shoppers, and clearly, we failed you today." "Unfortunate incident?" Denise repeated, her voice sharp. "Is that what we're calling racial profiling and police brutality now?" The PR director flinched. More phones recorded her discomfort. "We will be conducting a full investigation," Wells continued, her professional veneer cracking slightly. "Our security protocols will be thoroughly reviewed and—" "Save it!" Denise cut her off. "Your security cameras caught everything. I suggest you preserve that footage." The crowd murmured approvingly. Several people called out their support, offering to send their videos as evidence. While the mall's PR team tried to manage the growing crisis, Sergeant Watkins moved closer to Denise, speaking in a low voice. "You should know. Rains was on his radio before I got here." "Let me guess," Denise replied quietly. "Writing his version of events?" Watkins nodded grimly. "He's already claiming you resisted and struck him during the arrest. You know how these reports work. First version on paper becomes the official narrative." Denise felt a fresh wave of anger, but kept her expression neutral. She'd seen this pattern before. False reports used to justify excessive force, especially against black citizens who dared to stand up for their rights. "He doesn't know who he's dealing with," she told Watkins. The crowd finally began to disperse as mall management worked to restore normal operations. Denise collected her belongings, including her badge, which Rains had dropped on the ground before quickly leaving the scene. The drive home felt surreal. The familiar streets of her neighborhood looked the same, but everything had changed. Her hands were steady on the steering wheel, but her mind raced through the implications of what had happened. Walking into her house, Denise headed straight for her home office. She needed to document everything while it was fresh in her memory. The laptop powered on with a soft hum. Her email notification pinged. New message from the department. Subject line, Incident Report, 2T123-487. Denise opened the attachment, her jaw tightening as she read. According to Rains's report, she had been combative and aggressive from the start. He claimed she had struck out at officers and resisted legitimate security protocols. The report painted a picture of an angry black woman out of control, the exact stereotype she'd fought against her entire career. She sat back in her chair, the accusations burning on her screen. The email had been copied to Internal Affairs, the chief's office, and the police union. Rains had moved fast, trying to control the narrative. The kitchen clock showed 7:30 p.m. when Carla Johnson arrived. Carrying a bottle of wine and wearing the concerned expression Denise had come to know well over their 15 years of friendship. As a defense attorney, Carla had seen enough cases to recognize when trouble was brewing. "I ordered Chinese," Denise said, gesturing to the takeout containers on the dining room table. "Figured we'd need fuel for this conversation." Carla set down her bag and pulled out a manila folder. "I reviewed the report you sent. It's worse than I thought, Denise." They settled at the table, the familiar comfort of their usual dinner routine now overshadowed by the day's events. Denise served the food while Carla poured the wine, both women falling into a practiced rhythm that spoke of years of friendship and shared battles. "Tell me straight," Denise said, pushing her sweet and sour chicken around the plate. "How bad is it?" Carla took a slow sip of wine before answering. "The report is crafted perfectly to trigger an IA investigation. Rains knows exactly what he's doing. He's claiming you struck him during the arrest. That's assault on an officer. He's painted you as hostile, aggressive, uncooperative. And he's got those mall security guards backing his story." "But there are videos," Denise protested. "Dozens of witnesses saw what really happened." "Videos can help, but you know how the department works. They'll say the footage is incomplete, that it doesn't show the whole story. They'll focus on your attitude, claim you escalated the situation." Carla's fork clinked against her plate as she set it down. "And let's be honest, we both know how the system treats black officers who make waves." Denise pushed her plate away, her appetite gone. "So what are my options? Legally? We can fight it. The videos help, and your record is spotless. But," Carla hesitated, choosing her words carefully, "if the department decides to push this narrative, you could be looking at suspension pending investigation. They might even try to force you into early retirement. Over a false shoplifting accusation?" Denise's voice rose with incredulity. "No," Carla replied softly, "over challenging the status quo, over making them look bad, over being a black woman who wouldn't just take the humiliation quietly." The truth of those words hung heavy in the air. Denise stood up, walking to the kitchen window. Outside, her quiet suburban street looked peaceful, normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. "I could go public," Denise said, turning back to face her friend. "The story's already out there. I could give interviews, tell my side." Carla's expression grew more concerned. "That's risky. Remember Captain Williams from the 12th Precinct? He went public about racial profiling in his department 3 years ago. Last I heard, he's working security at a warehouse in Ohio. The system has ways of making examples of people who speak up. So I'm supposed to just take it? Denise's hands clenched into fists. Let them write their lies, destroy my reputation, everything I've worked for. No, Carla said firmly. We fight smart. We gather evidence. We build a case. She hesitated again, then added, And Denise? I don't think this is just about you. What do you mean? Carla opened the manila folder she'd brought, spreading several documents across the table. In the past year, I've defended 6 clients, all black, all arrested at or near that mall, all charged with resisting arrest or assaulting officers, all after they filed complaints about harassment. Denise leaned over the papers, her police training kicking in as she scanned the details. Same officers involved? Raines appears in most of them. And look at the pattern. The charges always come after the complaints. It's like they're using the threat of prosecution to silence people. Denise felt a chill run down her spine. The implications were staggering. How many cases are we talking about? These are just the ones that came to me. How many people do you think took plea deals because they couldn't afford to fight? How many stayed quiet because they were afraid? The conversation continued late into the evening, both women picking apart details, looking for patterns, building a bigger picture. By the time Carla left, the kitchen clock showed nearly midnight, but sleep wouldn't come. Denise sat in her darkened living room, her laptop casting a blue glow over her face as she scrolled through social media. The videos of her arrest had exploded online. Some comments expressed outrage, demanding justice. Others spewed racist venom, claiming she'd played the race card, or got what she deserved. A news site had picked up the story. Black police captain arrested while shopping. Racial profiling or legitimate stop. The comments section was a battlefield of competing narratives. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Unknown number. The message made her sit up straighter. Back off, Captain. You don't know what you're stepping into. Denise stared at the screen, her police training noting details automatically. Local area code. Text sent through a standard carrier, not a messaging app. The threat was plain, but carefully worded. Nothing explicitly criminal. She took a screenshot, documenting the time and date. One more piece of evidence for whatever was coming. The phone's glow illuminated her face in the dark room, highlighting the determination in her expression. They thought they could scare her into silence. They didn't know who they were dealing with. Sunlight streamed through the windows of Carla's office as Denise arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. The law office was quiet, most staff not due in for another hour. That's exactly why they'd planned to meet so early. I've been up all night reviewing cases, Carla said, her desk covered with stacks of manila folders. Dark circles under her eyes matched Denise's own sleepless appearance. What I found, it's bigger than we thought. Denise settled into the chair across from her friend, clutching a travel mug of much-needed coffee. Show me. Carla spread out dozens of case files, creating a grid of paper across her large desk. Each of these is a false arrest report from the past year. All black residents. Most of them happened at or near Greenwood Mall. How many? 47 cases that I can confirm. But these are just the ones where people fought back or sought legal help. For every person who challenges the charges, there are probably 5 who can't afford to. Denise leaned forward, scanning the documents. Her trained eye caught patterns immediately. Same officers showing up repeatedly. Raines, Martinez, Cooper. And look at the charges. Carla tapped several files. Resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, disorderly conduct. All charges that pit the citizen's word against the officers, making it nearly impossible to fight in court, Denise added, her jaw tightening. Exactly. And here's where it gets interesting. Carla pulled out a spreadsheet she'd compiled. Of these cases, 86% end in guilty pleas. Most defendants accept deals rather than risk trial. That's way above normal plea rates, Denise noted, her investigators' instincts firing up. And every single plea deal includes mandatory probation. Carla's voice took on an edge. Specifically, probation through a private contractor called New Horizons Supervision Services. Denise's eyebrows rose. Private probation? I didn't even know that was legal. It's a growing trend. Counties outsource probation monitoring to save money. But look at the fees these people are charged. Carla handed over another document. Monthly supervision fees, drug testing fees, electronic monitoring fees. Some people end up paying thousands of dollars over their probation period, creating a whole new debtor's prison system, Denise muttered, anger building in her chest. And if they can't pay? They violate probation, back to jail, more fees. It's an endless cycle. Denise stood up, too agitated to sit still. I need to see our internal files on this. There has to be a paper trail at the precinct. Be careful, Carla warned. After that threat last night, I'm still a police captain. I have every right to review arrest records. Denise gathered her things. They can't stop me from doing my job. An hour later, Denise sat at her desk in the precinct, methodically pulling digital records. She noticed the sideways glances from other officers, the whispered conversations that stopped when she walked by. The false arrest report had clearly made the rounds. She ignored them, focusing on her computer screen. Years' worth of arrest data scrolled past as she searched for patterns. Location: Greenwood Mall. Officer: Rains. Charge: resisting arrest. The numbers kept growing. Then she found something that made her pause. A memo about the department's partnership with New Horizons Supervision Services. The company's CEO was listed, Richard Greenwood, the same family that owned the mall. Digging deeper, she uncovered financial reports. The probation company was a subsidiary of Greenwood Holdings, LLC. The mall security firm was another subsidiary. It was all connected. Her phone buzzed. A text from Carla. Found something else. These cases spike every quarter, right before the mall reports earnings to shareholders. Denise's mind raced. More arrests meant more people on probation. More people on probation meant more fees collected. The mall's security targeted black shoppers, local police made arrests on false charges, and the Greenwood family profited from the resulting probation payments. She printed key documents, tucking them into her briefcase. On her way out, she caught more whispers, more stares. Let them talk. She had bigger concerns now. The afternoon sun was harsh as Denise parked across from Greenwood Mall. The building's glass facade gleamed, projecting an image of upscale retail prosperity. Yesterday, she'd seen it as the scene of her humiliation. Now she saw it differently. She watched shoppers coming and going, mall security guards stationed at every entrance, hands on radios. A young black mother hurrying past, clutching her purse close, eyes darting nervously. A teenage boy being tailed by a guard, just like she had been. The scale of it hit her all at once. How long had this been going on? How many lives had been derailed by false charges? How many families had been bled dry by probation fees? All to pad the Greenwood family's profits. Denise gripped her steering wheel, knuckles white. In her 20 years of law enforcement, she'd seen plenty of corruption, plenty of systemic racism. But this was different. This was calculated, organized exploitation. She stared at the mall's towering entrance, where just yesterday she'd been dragged out in handcuffs. Her voice was barely a whisper in the quiet car. This wasn't just about me. Denise had just settled at her desk with the stack of documents when a knock interrupted her thoughts. A young Latina woman stood in her office doorway. notebook in hand. "Captain Carter? I'm Maya Lopez from the City Herald." She stepped forward with purpose, her press badge swinging from a lanyard. "Got a minute?" Denise started to give her standard no-comment response, but something in Maya's determined expression made her pause. "Close the door." Maya sat down, already pulling out her phone to record. "I've been following your case since the mall incident, but that's not why I'm here. I've spent 6 months investigating Officer Rains and his connection to private probation companies." Denise leaned back, studying the journalist. "What have you found?" "Money trails, shell companies, suspicious timing of arrests." Maya pulled up documents on her tablet. "But I hit walls. Sources go quiet. Records disappear. Then I saw the video of what happened to you, and I knew this was my chance." "Your chance for what?" "To finally expose this." Maya's eyes blazed with conviction. "I have banking records showing massive transfers from New Horizons to offshore accounts, tax documents that don't add up. But I need someone on the inside to help connect the dots." Denise considered carefully. Journalists could be allies or enemies, but something about Maya's intensity reminded her of herself 20 years ago. "What's your angle on this story?" "The truth. How a racist cop and a corporate machine are destroying black lives for profit." Maya leaned forward. "I grew up watching my immigrant parents harassed by police, targeted by predatory companies. This isn't just a story for me." After a long moment, Denise nodded. "I can't be your official source, but I might know people who can help you follow the money. That's all I need." Maya smiled. "And I might have something for you too. Ever heard of the Justice Coalition?" 2 hours later, they sat in a cramped community center meeting room. Reverend Marcus Green, a tall man with graying temples, spread photos across the table. "These are just from the past 3 months. All false arrests by Rains and his crew." Around them sat other community leaders, teachers, small business owners, activists. Each had stories about Rains. Each had been gathering evidence. "We've been documenting everything," said Lisa Chen, a local teacher. "Videos, witness statements, medical records from people Rains roughed up. But every complaint gets buried." "The police review board is useless," added Jerome Wilson, who owned a barber shop near the mall. "They're all in Greenwood's pocket." Maya took rapid notes while Denise examined the evidence. Dozens of sworn affidavits described the same pattern: false accusations, violent arrests, pressure to accept plea deals. "This woman," Reverend Green pointed to a photo, "single mother of 3. Rains claimed she assaulted him during a traffic stop. Now she's paying $300 a month in probation fees. Had to take a second job. They threatened to take her kids if she fought the charges," Lisa added quietly. Denise's hands clenched. "Why haven't these stories come out before?" "Fear," Jerome said simply. "Rains makes examples of people who speak up. Strange traffic stops, sudden building code violations, kids getting hassled at school." "But we kept records," Reverend Green said, "waiting for someone with the power to do something." He looked meaningfully at Denise. Maya spoke up. "With these affidavits and my financial documents, we could build a solid case. The Herald would publish it." "It would take more than one article," Denise cautioned. "The Greenwood family has armies of lawyers." "Then we'll write a series," Maya said firmly. "Follow every thread. Show how deep this goes." They spent another hour planning, connecting pieces of the puzzle. The activists had years of documentation. Maya had financial expertise. Denise had insider knowledge of police procedures. "We need to move carefully," Denise warned as they wrapped up. "These people won't go down without a fight." "That's why we need to strike hard and fast," Maya argued. "Once the first story breaks, others will come forward." Darkness had fallen by the time Denise pulled into her driveway. The day's revelations weighed heavily. So many lives affected, so much evidence ignored. She'd known racism existed in the department, but this level of organized exploitation shocked even her. Her porch light flickered as she approached her front door. The mailbox was stuffed full, overflowing onto the ground. Strange. Mail had already been delivered this morning. Gathering the scattered envelopes, her stomach tightened. No return addresses, no postmarks. Hand-delivered. Inside, she spread them on her kitchen table. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the first one. A crude drawing of a hanging figure. Below it, words cut from magazines. Mind your business. The next contained photos. Surveillance shots of her leaving her house, shopping, meeting Carla. Someone had been following her. More letters spilled out. Racial slurs in jagged handwriting. Threats against her family. Pictures of her niece's school. The last envelope held a single photo. Denise being arrested at the mall. Someone had drawn crosshairs over her face. She sat heavily in her kitchen chair, the hate mail surrounding her like toxic confetti. They were trying to scare her into silence, like they'd scared so many others. But they'd made a mistake. Denise Carter didn't scare easily. And now, she had proof they were worried enough to threaten her. She gathered the letters carefully, preserving any potential evidence. Tomorrow, she'd show them to Maya and the coalition. Let them document one more example of intimidation. The threats meant she was on the right track, and she wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, Denise walked through the precinct hallway, the hate mail burning a hole in her briefcase. She needed someone higher up on her side. Lieutenant Harris's office door was open, and she could see him reviewing reports at his desk. "Got a minute, Mark?" she asked, knocking lightly on the door frame. Harris looked up with his characteristic easy smile. "For you?" "Always, Captain." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Close the door." Denise settled into the chair, studying her old friend's face. She'd known Mark Harris for 15 years, worked countless cases together. He'd backed her promotion to captain, stood up for her when others questioned her leadership. "I need to show you something," she said, pulling out the threatening letters. "This was in my mailbox last night." Harris's expression darkened as he examined the hate mail. His jaw tightened at the photo with the crosshairs. "Jesus, Denise! Have you reported this?" "To who?" She leaned forward. "Mark, this goes deeper than just Rains and that mall incident. I've been digging, and there's a pattern. False arrests, coerced pleas, all feeding into this private probation racket. That's a serious accusation." Harris set the letters down carefully. "You have proof?" "Building it. I've got victims' statements, financial records showing suspicious payments, and now these threats." She tapped the letters. "Someone's scared enough to try intimidating me." Harris rubbed his temples. "Look, you know I've always had your back, but this kind of investigation, it could shake the whole department. It needs shaking." Denise's voice hardened. "You've seen how Rains operates, how many complaints we've buried. This isn't just about dirty cops, it's systematic exploitation." "I hear you." Harris stood, pacing behind his desk. "You're right, this needs to be investigated, but we need to be smart about it." He turned to face her. "Let me help. I can quietly put out some feelers, see who else might be willing to step forward." Relief flooded through Denise. "Thanks, Mark. I knew I could count on you. Always." He smiled warmly. "Just watch yourself, okay? Maybe stay with family for a few days until we figure out who sent these threats." "I'm not hiding," Denise said firmly. "That's what they want." Stubborn as ever. Harris shook his head fondly. "At least let me assign a patrol car to drive by your house regularly." "I can handle myself." Denise gathered the letters. "But thanks. It helps knowing you're in my corner." "We look out for our own," Harris assured her. Keep me updated on what you find." The rest of Denise's day passed in a blur of routine duties and careful evidence gathering. She made copies of key documents, stored them in secure locations. Too many records had a way of disappearing in cases like this. It was after midnight when she finally headed home. The street was quiet, crickets chirping in the warm summer air. She pulled into her driveway, automatic lights illuminating her usual parking spot. The harsh glare revealed angry red letters sprayed across her car's hood and doors. "Traitor!" Denise froze, keys in hand. The paint was still wet, dripping down the white paint of her sedan. Her mind raced. The timing, the message. This wasn't random vandalism. She did a quick scan of her surroundings, hand instinctively moving to her holster. Nothing moved in the shadows. Whoever did this was long gone. With trembling fingers, she took photos of the damage. Then she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The vandals had keyed a message into the paint. "Keep your mouth shut, Captain." Only someone from the department would know her rank. Only someone inside would know she was investigating. She thought of everyone she'd talked to about the case. Maya, the coalition members, Carla, Harris. Her conversation with Harris replayed in her mind. He'd offered to put out feelers, asked who else knew about her investigation. "Damn it," she whispered. She'd handed him everything, the evidence she'd found, the names of potential witnesses. If he was working with Rains? Inside her house, Denise dropped heavily into a kitchen chair. Her badge sat on the table where she'd left it that morning. The gold shield caught the light, throwing shadows across the wall. 20 years. She'd worn that badge for 20 years. Believed in what it stood for. Defended the department against accusations of systemic racism. Convinced herself that change would come from within. Now she stared at the symbol of everything she'd dedicated her life to, and wondered if the rot went all the way through, if there was anything left worth saving. The shield blurred as tears of rage and betrayal threatened. She blinked them back. No time for self-pity. She had decisions to make. Trust no one in the department. Document everything. Build the case quietly until she had ironclad proof. The vandals had made one thing crystal clear. She was on her own inside these walls. Her badge gleamed accusingly in the dim kitchen light. The weight of 20 years pressed down on her shoulders as she faced the possibility that the institution she'd believed in had become the very thing she'd sworn to fight against. The next morning, Denise's phone buzzed with an urgent text from Maya. "Need to meet. Big break. The usual spot." 20 minutes later, Denise sat in the back booth of Jerry's diner, nursing a coffee that had gone cold. The small restaurant was nearly empty, just a few regulars scattered at the counter. The bell above the door chimed as Maya rushed in, her messenger bag clutched tight against her side. "Sorry I'm late," Maya said, sliding into the booth. Her eyes darted around the diner before she leaned forward. "But you're going to want to see this." Maya pulled out a manila envelope, careful to keep it below table level. "Remember that source I mentioned? The one inside mall management?" She slid the envelope across to Denise. "They came through. Big time." Denise opened the envelope carefully, pulling out several sheets of corporate letterhead. Her eyes widened as she scanned the first page. "This is internal memos from the mall's board meetings," Maya finished, her voice barely above a whisper, "dating back 18 months. Look at page 3. Denise flipped to the indicated page. The memo detailed loss prevention initiatives, corporate speak for security protocols. But as she read further, her hands began to shake. The document laid out explicit instructions for security to target high-risk demographics, a thin veil for racial profiling. It included quotes from meetings where board members discussed coordinating with local police to maximize enforcement opportunities. They were working with Rains directly, Maya explained, tapping a highlighted section. The board approved bonuses for security staff based on arrest numbers. They knew exactly what they were doing. Denise read further. The memo detailed how arrests would feed into the private probation system, a company called New Horizons Supervision Services. The mall's parent corporation owned a controlling stake. "It's all here," Denise breathed. "The whole pipeline." They weren't just allowing racial profiling, they were incentivizing it, turning it into profit. Maya nodded grimly. Every false arrest meant another person forced into their probation program. Monthly fees, mandatory rehabilitation classes, all funneling money back to the same corporate interests. "How did you get this?" Denise asked, carefully returning the papers to the envelope. "My source works in corporate accounting. They've been documenting everything, waiting for someone to investigate." Maya's eyes gleamed. "When they saw the videos of your arrest go viral, they knew it was time." Denise sat back, her mind racing. This was exactly what they needed. Proof of coordination between police and corporate interests, evidence of intentional targeting of black shoppers. No one could dismiss this as a few bad apples or isolated incidents. "We need to protect this," Denise said firmly. "And your source. Once this gets out—" "Already handled," Maya assured her. "They've documented everything, backed up files. Multiple copies in secure locations. Smart." Denise tucked the envelope into her jacket. "I'll scan these tonight, create digital backups. But we need to move carefully. After what happened to my car, you think someone in the department is working with them?" "I know they are." Denise's voice was hard. "Lieutenant Harris, I trusted him, told him about the investigation. Next thing I know, my car's vandalized with a warning only someone inside would know to leave." Maya's expression darkened. "Then we keep this between us. No one else knows about these documents until we're ready to go public." "Agreed." Denise checked her watch. "I need to get these somewhere safe. Then we plan our next move." They parted ways outside the diner, Maya heading to the newspaper office while Denise drove home, the envelope secure in her jacket. Her hand kept touching it during the drive, reassuring herself it was real. At home, Denise went straight to her study. The heavy wooden desk had been her father's, solid oak with a hidden compartment in the bottom drawer. She carefully placed the envelope inside, then locked the drawer with a key she wore around her neck. For the first time in weeks, she felt something like hope. The weight of isolation and betrayal lifted slightly. They had proof now, not just witness statements or circumstantial evidence, but direct documentation of the conspiracy. Denise fixed herself dinner, actually tasting the food for once instead of just going through the motions. She checked her security cameras, a habit now, but the street was quiet. No suspicious vehicles, no more vandals in the night. Later, as she prepared for bed, Denise allowed herself to imagine the aftermath. The press conference where they'd reveal everything, the looks on the faces of the mall executives, Raines, Harris, all of them realizing their scheme was exposed. The victims finally seeing justice. She switched off the lights, the house settling into familiar creaks and hums. The desk drawer was securely locked, the key safe around her neck. For the first time since this started, sleep came easily. Tomorrow they'd begin planning how to release the evidence. But tonight, Denise could rest, knowing they finally had what they needed. The truth would come out. Justice would be served. The memo was their key to bringing down the whole corrupt system. As Denise drifted off, she felt lighter than she had in weeks. The end was finally in sight. Denise woke early, energized by the previous day's breakthrough. She poured her morning coffee and texted Maya, "Ready to plan next steps?" No response. An hour later, still nothing. Unusual for Maya, who typically replied within minutes. Denise tried calling, straight to voicemail. She left a message, trying to keep her tone casual. "Hey, just checking in about our discussion yesterday. Call me when you can." By noon, anxiety gnawed at her stomach. She'd sent 3 more texts, called twice. Maya's silence was deafening. Denise was reviewing case files at her desk when her phone buzzed. Breaking news alert. Her coffee cup crashed to the floor as she read the headline, "Local reporter hospitalized after brutal attack." The article loaded with agonizing slowness. There was Maya's photo. Investigative journalist Maya Lopez was found unconscious early this morning. Denise grabbed her keys, her hands shaking. The drive to Metro General felt endless, every red light an eternity. Her mind raced with possibilities, each worse than the last. This was her fault. She'd pulled Maya into this mess. The hospital lobby was crowded with reporters. Denise flashed her badge, pushing through to the information desk. "Maya Lopez's room? Are you family?" the receptionist asked. "Police captain. She's a witness in an ongoing investigation." The lie came easily. "Necessary. Room 412. The elevator seemed to crawl between floors. Denise's guilt grew with each passing second. She should have known they'd target Maya. Should have protected her better. Room 412's door was open. Maya lay in the hospital bed, her face bruised, left arm in a cast. Despite everything, her eyes lit up when she saw Denise. "You look terrible," Maya croaked. "Me?" Denise moved to the bedside. "You're the one in the hospital gown. Should see the other guy." Maya tried to smile but winced. "What happened?" Denise asked, pulling up a chair. "Walking to my car after work. Someone grabbed me from behind." Maya's voice was rough. Professional job. Knew exactly how to hurt without killing. Denise's fists clenched. "Did you see their face?" Maya glanced at the door, then lowered her voice. "Better. Saw something else. When they threw me down, their jacket rode up. Chrome flashed at their hip. Denise went cold. A badge?" Maya nodded slightly. "Department issue. Same as yours." The confirmation hit Denise like a physical blow. One of her own had done this. Someone she might pass in the precinct hallways every day. "I'm so sorry," Denise whispered. "I never should have—" "Don't." Maya's good hand gripped Denise's wrist with surprising strength. "This proves we're onto something big. They're scared." "They should be scared of me now," Denise growled. "Good." Maya shifted, grimacing. "Because I'm not stopping. Neither should you." A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Lopez needs rest." 5 more minutes, Maya pleaded. The nurse frowned but nodded. Once they were alone again, Maya spoke urgently. "The memo's safe, right? Locked in my desk at home. I'll start making copies today." "Good. Because this," Maya gestured to her injuries, "means we're close. They wouldn't risk attacking a reporter unless they're desperate." Denise stood. "Get some rest. I'll check on you tomorrow." "Be careful," Maya called as Denise reached the door. "They know we have something." The drive home was a blur of rage and worry. Denise's mind kept replaying Maya's words. A department badge. Someone she worked with had done this. The betrayal burned deep. She pulled into her driveway as sunset painted the sky orange. Something felt off before she even reached the front door. A subtle wrongness in the air. The door was locked, but that meant nothing. Denise drew her off-duty weapon, entering cautiously. The living room was untouched, kitchen normal. But as she approached her study, she saw it. The door slightly ajar when she always kept it closed. Her heart pounding, Denise pushed the door open. The room was a disaster. Books thrown from shelves, papers scattered, and her father's desk. The heavy oak drawer had been forced open, the lock splintered. Denise rushed forward, already knowing what she'd find. The hidden compartment gaped empty. The manila envelope containing their evidence was gone. Denise sank into her chair, the magnitude of the loss hitting her. Their proof, the documentation that could have exposed everything, all gone. She thought of Maya lying in that hospital bed, battered but unbowed. Of all the victims of this scheme who were counting on them, even if they didn't know it yet. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Next time, it won't just be the journalist. Denise stared at the message, her hands trembling with fury. They thought this would stop her, that stealing evidence and attacking her friend would make her back down. They didn't know her at all. She dialed 911 reporting the break-in, but she already knew what the response would be. A routine report, no real investigation, the system protecting its own. As she waited for patrol officers to arrive, Denise looked around her violated study. The desk her father had given her, now broken. The scattered remnants of her investigation. They'd taken the memo, but they couldn't take her determination. Or Maya's courage. Or the truth of what they'd uncovered. The morning after the break-in, Denise sat at her kitchen table, staring at the official summons from Internal Affairs. The cream-colored paper felt heavy in her hands, each word a hammer blow. Immediate suspension. Pending investigation. Allegations of misconduct. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. News alerts kept popping up, each headline worse than the last. Troubled police captain claims conspiracy. Sources say suspended officer. Shows signs of instability. Police captain's vendetta against mall security raises questions. Denise clicked one article, her jaw clenching as she read, "Sources within the department describe Captain Carter's recent behavior as erratic and vindictive. The decorated officer's apparent obsession with proving discrimination at Greenwood Mall has colleagues concerned." "Lies," she whispered, closing the browser. But the damage was done. They were painting her as the angry black woman, twisting her justified outrage into something dangerous and irrational. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. "Hope you die, pig." She'd received dozens like it since yesterday. Some were creative in their hatred. Others, simple death threats. Denise got up and drew the blinds tighter, though it was barely noon. The darkness felt safer somehow. She'd already swept the apartment twice for bugs, checked all the windows and doors. Paranoid? Maybe. But after what happened to Maya, after the break-in, the TV droned in the background, some local news anchor discussing her situation with false concern. Sources say Captain Carter's claims of systematic discrimination appear to be unfounded, possibly stemming from personal grievances. Denise grabbed the remote, clicking it off with trembling hands. The silence felt better than their lies. Her badge and gun sat on the coffee table, surrendered that morning to Internal Affairs. 20 years of service, reduced to a piece of metal and a weapon she could no longer carry. The sight made her stomach turn. Her phone rang, her sister this time. Denise let it go to voicemail. What could she say? That she was fine? That everything would work out? The lies would stick in her throat. She paced the apartment, feeling caged. The walls seemed to close in with each pass. Every shadow held potential threats. Every unexpected sound made her jump. A news helicopter buzzed overhead. They'd been circling her building all morning, hoping to catch a glimpse of the troubled captain. Denise ducked away from the windows, though the blinds were already drawn tight. Her laptop chimed with new email notifications from the police union. In light of recent events, from her supervisor, disappointed doesn't begin to cover. From an anonymous account, should have kept your mouth shut. She slammed the laptop closed. The screen had started to blur anyway, her eyes burning with frustrated tears she refused to let fall. The doorbell rang, making her jump. Denise approached cautiously, checking the peephole. Her heart skipped. Kayla stood in the hallway, backpack slung over one shoulder. Denise opened the door, quickly pulling her niece inside. "Kayla, what are you doing here? You should be in school." "Half day," Kayla said, dropping her backpack. Without hesitation, she wrapped her arms around her aunt in a fierce hug. "And I needed to see you." Denise stiffened at first, then melted into the embrace. She hadn't realized how much she needed this. Simple human contact from someone who didn't see her as a threat or a failure. "Mom's worried," Kayla said, still holding tight. "She's been trying to call you." "I know." Denise pulled back, studying her niece's face. I can't talk to anyone right now. Not with everything." "You mean all the lies they're telling?" Kayla's young face hardened with anger. "We know they're lies, Auntie D. Everyone at school knows too." She pulled out her phone, fingers flying across the screen. "Look at this." The video loaded, the footage from the mall. Denise tried to look away, not wanting to relive that humiliation, but Kayla insisted. "No, look at the views." The number took a moment to register. 5.2 million views. The comments section was flooded. "This is what systemic racism looks like. Captain Carter is a hero for standing up. We stand with you, Captain." "It's not just the video," Kayla said excitedly. "People are sharing their own stories. About Officer Raines, about the mall security, about the whole corrupt system. You started something, Auntie D." Denise sank onto the couch, overwhelmed. "They're still saying I'm unstable, that I'm making it all up. So what?" Kayla sat beside her, fierce determination in her young face. "The truth is out there now. People are watching, they're listening, and they're angry. Not at you, but at them." Kayla pulled up another page, a social media group with thousands of members, all sharing similar experiences at Greenwood Mall. Stories of harassment, false arrests, coerced pleas. "See?" Kayla squeezed her aunt's hand. "You're not alone. And you're not crazy. You're the only one brave enough to stand up to them." For the first time in days, Denise felt something besides despair. A small spark of hope, kindled by her niece's unwavering faith and the evidence that public opinion was shifting. "When did you get so wise?" she asked, managing a small smile. "I learned from the best." Kayla hugged her again. "You always taught me to stand up for what's right, no matter what. That's what you're doing now, and we're all standing with you." The afternoon sun beat down on the growing crowd outside Greenwood Mall. Denise stood among the protesters, a baseball cap pulled low over her eyes, watching in amazement as hundreds of voices rose together. "Justice for Carter! Justice for Carter!" Signs bobbed above the sea of people. "Stop racial profiling! End police corruption! We stand with Captain Carter!" Denise's throat tightened. Just days ago, she'd felt completely alone. Now, strangers were demanding justice in her name. The crowd stretched along the mall's entire front entrance, forcing shoppers to weave through protest lines just to enter. Mall security huddled nervously behind the glass doors, radioing back and forth. A few uniformed officers stood at a distance, looking uncomfortable. None of them recognized her in the crowd. "This is what solidarity looks like," said an elderly woman next to Denise, her gray hair crowned with a Black Lives Matter cap. "They thought they could silence you, Captain. But we're your voice now." Denise nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The woman squeezed her arm and moved on, never realizing she'd just encouraged the very person they were all here to support. A group of teenagers near the front started a new chant. "Show the truth! Show the truth!" The rhythm spread through the crowd like wildfire. Denise felt it in her chest, each beat matching her heart. The energy was electric, crackling with righteous anger and hope. "Captain Carter?" Denise turned at the quiet voice behind her. A black teenage girl stood there, phone clutched to her chest, eyes wide with recognition. "I'm Tiana," the girl said quickly. "Tiana Brooks. I recorded the video of what they did to you." Denise's eyes widened. She'd seen the viral footage dozens of times, but had never known who captured it. "Thank you," she said softly. "Your video showed people the truth." Tiana glanced around nervously. "Not the whole truth, not yet. I have more footage, from before they grabbed you." She pulled Denise aside, away from the main crowd, and held up her phone. "I started recording as soon as I saw Officer Rains enter the mall. Something felt wrong about how fast he showed up." The video played. Denise watched as Rains strode through the mall, moving with clear purpose toward the boutique. But this footage started nearly 5 minutes before the confrontation, before any accusations were made. "Look," Tiana pointed. In the frame, Rains stopped at the boutique's entrance. He leaned in close to the manager, Linda, whispering something. Linda nodded, her expression hardening. Then Rains stepped back, out of sight, and waited. Less than a minute later, Denise entered the store on the footage. "He set it up," Denise breathed. "He orchestrated the whole thing before I even walked in." Tiana nodded vigorously. "I caught him doing the same thing last month with my cousin. But nobody would believe us then. When I saw him heading toward that store, I knew something was about to go down. I just didn't know it would be you he was targeting. Why didn't you release this part before?" "I was scared," Tiana admitted. "Rains has friends everywhere. But seeing all these people here today," she gestured at the crowd, "I can't stay quiet anymore. This proves he planned it. He profiled you before you even entered the store." Denise's mind raced. The unedited footage was damning. It showed clear premeditation, destroying any claim that the confrontation arose naturally from suspicious behavior. "I'm not the only one with videos either," Tiana continued. "I run a YouTube channel about police accountability. People have been sending me clips for months. Rains doing the same thing over and over. Always at this mall, always targeting black shoppers." The crowd's chants grew louder. "No justice, no peace." Tiana touched Denise's arm. "My followers want to help. We can spread this everywhere. But it needs a voice. Your voice. People trust you. You're proof that even black officers aren't safe from this corruption." Denise stared at the protest, her mind whirling with possibilities. The unedited video, the witness statements Maya had gathered, the financial records linking the mall to the probation scheme, and now, an army of young activists ready to amplify the truth. "They can't silence all of us," Tiana said firmly. "Not if we stand together." A news van pulled up to the curb, a reporter and cameraman jumping out. The crowd surged forward, eager to be heard. Denise watched the reporter set up, her heart pounding. She had evidence now, real, undeniable evidence. But more importantly, she had witnesses, allies, a movement building behind her. The protesters' voices swelled. "What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!" Mall security was calling for backup. More police cars arrived, officers forming a line between the protesters and the entrance. Tiana held up her phone, the damning video ready to share. "What do you want to do, Captain?" Denise straightened her shoulders, drawing strength from the energy of the crowd. The truth was right there in Tiana's hand. All she needed now was the right moment to reveal it. A moment big enough that they couldn't possibly bury the story again. The fluorescent lights of Metro General's recovery ward cast harsh shadows across Maya's bruised face. She lay propped up in the hospital bed, her left arm in a cast, but her eyes blazed with the same fierce determination Denise remembered. "You should be resting," Denise said, settling into the chair beside the bed. The protests outside Greenwood Mall still echoed in her mind. Maya adjusted herself with a wince. "Can't rest. Not when I've got something this big." She glanced at the door before lowering her voice. Remember how I told you my attacker had a badge? Denise nodded, leaning closer. Well, he was sloppy. A hint of satisfaction crossed Maya's face. During the attack, my phone fell. He grabbed it, probably thinking I'd recorded him. But he didn't know about my backup security measures. What do you mean? Maya's good hand reached for her laptop on the bedside table. I'm a journalist in 2024. You think I don't have tracking software? The moment he turned my phone on, it started uploading everything to my cloud storage, including, she opened a folder, all the files from his phone. Denise's eyes widened. You hacked a police officer's phone? Technically, he hacked himself by connecting to my device. And guess whose phone it was? Maya turned the screen toward Denise. Officer James Martinez, Raines's partner. Denise scanned the documents filling the screen. Spreadsheets, bank statements, email chains. Her hands began to shake as she read. It's all here, Maya said. Every payment from Greenwood Mall's parent company to New Horizons Supervision Services. Every kickback to city officials who approved the contracts. Look at the dates. They line up perfectly with the spike in arrests. Denise scrolled through emails between Raines and Charles Wilson, the mall's CEO. They discussed quotas and target demographics with casual cruelty. Another thread showed conversations with Judge Harrison, who presided over most of the mall-related cases, discussing how to expedite guilty pleas. They're not even trying to hide it, Denise muttered. They thought nobody would ever see these. There's more. Maya pulled up another document. Remember that memo that disappeared from your desk? I found a copy in Martinez's email. He was the one who broke in, probably on Raines's orders. The pieces clicked together in Denise's mind. That's why they attacked you. They knew you were close to exposing everything. And now, we have proof that goes way beyond just racial profiling at the mall. This is systematic exploitation for profit. Maya's voice strengthened. But we need the right platform to release it. Somewhere they can't shut us down or spin the story. Denise pulled out her phone, checking the city calendar. The council meeting, this Thursday night. It's a public forum. Anyone can speak. Perfect. Maya sat up straighter, ignoring the pain. The press always covers council meetings. Plus, half the people implicated in these documents will be sitting right there on the council. They'll try to shut me down the moment I start speaking. Not if we time it right. Maya's reporter instincts kicked in. We released the unedited arrest video an hour before the meeting. While everyone's reacting to that, you take the podium. Once you start presenting the financial evidence, they won't dare stop you, not with every news camera rolling. Denise imagined the scene, facing down Raines, the council members, the mall executives, all the people who thought they could break her. We'll need to organize everything perfectly. These documents, the video footage, witness statements, I've already started compiling it. Maya pulled up a presentation. We just need to fine-tune your statement. Hit them with the personal story first. What happened to you? Then broaden it to show the pattern. End with the financial proof that ties it all together. They spent the next hour organizing the evidence, crafting the narrative. Maya's journalistic experience helped structure the revelations for maximum impact. Denise added details from her law enforcement background, highlighting how each piece violated specific policies and laws. You know they'll come after us hard for this, Denise said finally. Especially you. They've already shown they're willing to use violence. Maya touched her bruised face. Let them try. Every attack just proves we're telling the truth. Besides, she managed to smile, I've got a police captain watching my back now. Denise squeezed Maya's hand gently. Get some rest. I'll have uniforms I trust posted outside your door tonight. Later that evening, Denise stood before the mirror in her bathroom, index cards in hand. The speech they'd prepared felt heavy with truth and consequence. She studied her reflection, the shadows under her eyes, the new lines of stress around her mouth, the steel in her gaze. "My name is Captain Denise Carter," she practiced, her voice steady. "2 weeks ago, I was falsely arrested while shopping at Greenwood Mall. But this isn't just about one incident of racial profiling. This is about a systemic criminal enterprise operating within our city." She paused, remembering the protesters' chants, Tiana's courage, Maya's determination despite her injuries. The weight of their trust pressed on her shoulders. "This stops now," she told her reflection. "All of it." She laid out her suit for Thursday. Her sharpest blazer, pressed pants, polished shoes. Her captain's badge, which she hadn't worn since the suspension, caught the light on her dresser. She picked it up, feeling its familiar weight. Everything hinged on Thursday night. The evidence was solid. The witnesses were ready. The stage was set. She just had to stand up and speak the truth. Denise returned to the mirror, squaring her shoulders. "My name is Captain Denise Carter," she began again, her voice growing stronger with each word. The marble halls of City Hall echoed with footsteps and whispered conversations. Camera crews jostled for position near the council chamber doors. Inside, every seat was filled, with people standing along the walls and spilling into the hallway. Denise paused in the doorway, her heart pounding. The evidence folder felt heavy in her hands. She spotted familiar faces. Maya in the back, her arms still in a cast. Tiana with her phone ready to record. Community activists wearing "Justice for Carter" t-shirts. Nobody noticed her at first. She was dressed in civilian clothes, her badge pinned inside her blazer. Near the front, Officer Raines lounged in his chair, talking and laughing with Charles Wilson, the mall's CEO. Their comfortable arrogance made her stomach turn. Mayor Thompson sat at the center of the raised council platform, mopping his forehead with a handkerchief. His eyes darted between his phone and the crowd. The other council members shifted in their seats, obviously aware of the tension filling the room. Denise took her place in line behind other citizens waiting to speak. Each person had 3 minutes at the podium. She watched the clock, knowing her video would be dropping any moment. A commotion rippled through the crowd. Phones lit up across the chamber. People nudged each other, showing screens. Raines's laughter cut off mid-chuckle as he noticed. The unedited footage of her arrest was live. Mayor Thompson cleared his throat. "Next speaker, please." Denise stepped to the podium. Now heads turned. Whispers spread like fire. Raines sat up straight, his smirk faltering. "My name is Captain Denise Carter." Her voice carried clear and strong through the microphone. 2 weeks ago, I was falsely arrested while shopping at Greenwood Mall. But this isn't just about one incident of racial profiling. She laid out her evidence folder, spreading documents across the podium. This is about a systematic criminal enterprise operating within our city. An enterprise that targets black citizens for arrest, forces them into plea deals, and profits from their probation. The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Camera flashes lit up the room. "I have here internal communications between mall executives and police officers." She held up the first document. "They discuss arrest quotas targeting specific demographics. I have financial records showing payments from the mall's parent company to New Horizons Supervision Services." Wilson, the mall CEO, pulled out his phone, typing frantically. Mayor Thompson tried to interrupt. "Captain Carter, this forum is for community concerns, not unfounded accusations. These accusations are fully documented," Denise continued, her voice rising, "including emails between Officer James Raines and Judge Harrison discussing how to expedite guilty pleas." She turned to face Raines directly. "The same Officer Raines who falsely arrested me, then filed a fraudulent report claiming I assaulted him. Raines's face had turned red. He half rose from his seat. But Wilson grabbed his arm, whispering urgently. When I began investigating this scheme, I was suspended. A journalist helping me was attacked by a police officer. But they made a mistake. Denise held up a thumb drive. The officer who attacked her accidentally uploaded evidence proving everything I'm saying. The crowd was fully engaged now, recording every word. Some people were already posting live updates. Phones kept buzzing with notifications as the story spread. "This system has destroyed lives," Denise said. Hundreds of innocent citizens pressured into guilty pleas, forced to pay probation fees they can't afford, trapped in a cycle of debt and surveillance, all to profit a private company and its co-conspirators. She looked directly at the council. "You've all seen the video by now. That's how it starts. But I have statements from dozens of victims. I have proof of kickbacks to city officials." "That's enough!" Raines exploded from his seat. He stormed toward the podium, hand moving to his weapon. "You're under arrest for defamation and interfering with an investigation." The crowd surged to its feet. But before Raines could reach her, two uniformed officers stepped into his path. Denise recognized them, Officers Chen and Rodriguez from her precinct. "Stand down, Raines," Chen said firmly. "You're not arresting anyone." "Get out of my way," Raines tried to push past them. "That's an order." "We don't take orders from you," Rodriguez replied. More officers emerged from the crowd, forming a protective line between Raines and Denise. The chamber erupted. People jumped to their feet, phones recording everything. A chant started in the back. "Justice! Justice!" spreading until it filled the room. Raines backed away, his face contorted with rage and disbelief. The mall's CEO had already slipped toward the exit. Mayor Thompson was desperately banging his gavel, trying to restore order. But the chant only grew louder. "Justice! Justice! Justice!" Denise stood at the podium, surrounded by her fellow officers, watching as the truth she'd fought so hard to expose finally burst into the light. The council chamber descended into chaos. Camera crews pushed forward, microphones extended like spears. Flashbulbs turned the room into a strobing disco of light and shadow. The chants of "justice" bounced off the marble walls, becoming a thunderous roar. Denise remained steady at the podium, her hands no longer shaking. She'd carried this weight for weeks. The fear, the anger, the betrayal. Now, watching it all unravel, she felt strangely calm. State Attorney Patricia Walsh shouldered her way through the crowd, her face set with determination. She'd been sitting quietly in the back, listening to everything. Now she meant business. "Captain Carter," Walsh called out over the noise. "I need those documents, all of them. Now." Denise carefully gathered her evidence folder, making sure every paper was in place. The financial records that Maya had recovered from her attacker's phone, the internal memos, the victim statements. 2 weeks of her life, compressed into manila and paper. "It's all here," Denise said, handing over the folder. The money trail goes back 3 years. Payments from shell companies owned by the mall's parent corporation routed through offshore accounts, landing in Judge Harrison's private foundation. Similar payments to New Horizons Supervision Services, which is owned by Councilman Peters's brother-in-law. Walsh flipped through the documents, her eyes widening. "This is comprehensive." She pulled out her phone, firing off rapid texts. "I'm calling in my team. Nobody leaves this room." The mayor was still trying to restore order, but his gavel strikes were drowned out by the crowd. Several council members had already slipped away through the side door. Others sat frozen, faces pale, probably wondering if their names were in that folder. Raines paced near the wall like a caged animal, the other officers still blocking his path to Denise. His hand kept twitching toward his empty holster. Chen had quietly convinced him to hand over his weapon minutes earlier. "This is all lies!" Rains shouted, his voice cracking. "She's making it up. She's trying to destroy everything we've built." He caught himself too late. "Everything you've built?" Walsh turned toward him sharply. "And what exactly have you built, Officer Rains?" More state investigators arrived, flowing into the chamber like a tide of dark suits and badges. They moved with practiced efficiency, securing exits, collecting phones, taking names. Charles Wilson, the mall CEO, tried to blend into a group heading for the door. A female investigator stepped into his path. "Mr. Wilson, we'll need you to stay." "I have an urgent meeting," Wilson began. "Yes," the investigator cut him off. "You do, with us." Near the podium, Officer Rodriguez approached Rains, holding handcuffs. The sight seemed to break something in Rains. His face twisted with rage. "You can't do this," he snarled. "I'm one of you. 20 years on the force. You're really going to side with her?" "Turn around, James," Rodriguez said quietly. "Don't make this worse." For a moment, it seemed Rains might fight. His muscles tensed, eyes darting between the officers surrounding him. Then his shoulders slumped. The fight drained out of him all at once. As Rodriguez cuffed him, reading his rights, Rains kept his eyes locked on Denise. The hatred in his gaze was pure poison. But Denise didn't look away. She'd spent too long looking away from ugly truths. Mayor Thompson had finally given up on his gavel. He stood, straightening his tie, trying to project authority he no longer possessed. "In light of these allegations," he announced, "I am calling for an immediate independent investigation into all matters raised here tonight. The city will cooperate fully." "The state is taking over this investigation," Walsh interrupted. "Your cooperation is not optional, Mr. Mayor. It's required by law." The crowd had shifted from chanting to filming everything on their phones. The story was already exploding across social media. Reporters were doing live stand-ups from every corner of the chamber. Denise watched as Rains was led away, followed by Wilson and several visibly nervous council members. State investigators were sealing off offices, confiscating computers, marking evidence. The system she'd fought against was being dismantled, piece by piece, right in front of her eyes. Officer Chen touched her arm gently. "Captain, there's a crowd gathering outside. They want to hear from you." Denise nodded, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving her drained. But she knew she had one more thing to do. She made her way through the chamber, accepting handshakes and pats on the back from strangers. Maya caught her eye from across the room, giving her a thumbs up with her good arm. Tiana was already uploading her video footage, grinning triumphantly. The heavy doors of City Hall opened onto a warm night. The steps were packed with protesters, their signs illuminated by streetlights and phone screens. As Denise emerged, a cheer went up that seemed to shake the very foundation of the building. "Captain Carter! Captain Carter!" She stood at the top of the steps, looking out over the sea of faces. Black, white, young, old, all united in demanding change. Some were crying. Others hugged complete strangers. Parents lifted children onto their shoulders to see better. For the first time in weeks, Denise felt the crushing weight begin to lift from her shoulders. She had carried the burden of this fight alone for so long, but she wasn't alone anymore. The truth was out. Justice was coming. The cool night air felt like freedom on her skin. 3 days later, Greenwood Mall stood like a ghost of its former self. The usual Saturday bustle had been replaced by an eerie quiet, broken only by the echo of footsteps against polished floors. Yellow police tape crossed the entrances of several stores, their windows dark and shuttered under investigation. Denise walked through the main corridor, her heels clicking against the tile. She wore her captain's uniform today, not out of obligation, but as a statement. This time, there would be no mistaking who she was. The few open stores had more employees than customers. Many shops were temporarily closed, their owners caught up in the widening investigation. The food court, usually packed on weekends, was half empty. Signs in windows announced, "Under new management," or "Temporarily closed pending review." A young mother pushing a stroller recognized Denise, breaking into a wide smile. "Captain Carter, thank you. Thank you for everything you did." Denise nodded, touched by the warmth in the woman's voice. More people noticed her, starting to gather. An elderly man reached out to shake her hand. "My grandson was one of them," he said quietly. "They got him on a false charge last year. Made him take that plea deal. Now his case is being reviewed. Thanks to you." "I'm glad," Denise replied, squeezing his hand. "That's exactly why we fought this fight." A small crowd had formed, following at a respectful distance. Some clapped softly. Others just wanted to be near her, to express their gratitude with a nod or a smile. Security guards, new ones, hired after the entire previous team was dismissed, stood straight and saluted as she passed. Near the fountain, a group of teenage girls whispered excitedly, pointing at her. One broke away from the group, approaching nervously. "Captain, would you take a picture with us? You're like our hero now. We did a whole presentation about you in our civics class." Denise posed with the girls, their excitement infectious. Their phones clicked and flashed. She remembered being their age, how much it would have meant to see someone who looked like her standing up to power and winning. "Don't ever let anyone make you feel less than who you are," she told them. "Stand up for what's right, even when it's hard." She spotted Kayla waiting by the boutique, the same one where everything had started. Her niece's face lit up as Denise approached. "Auntie D!" Kayla rushed forward for a hug. "This is so weird, being back here. Good weird or bad weird?" "Good weird. Definitely good weird." Kayla gestured at the store. "They got a whole new staff. The manager who called the cops on you? She's being investigated too. Turns out, she was getting kickbacks for targeting black shoppers." Inside the boutique, the atmosphere was completely different. The new staff greeted them warmly, almost reverently. The young cashier could barely contain her excitement. "Captain Carter, it's such an honor. Please, let us know if you need anything at all." Denise and Kayla browsed the jewelry section, finally able to shop in peace. The same displays that had led to Denise's arrest now sparkled innocently under the lights. "Still can't believe it took 3 weeks just to buy you a birthday present," Denise said, examining a delicate silver necklace. "Worth the wait, though." Kayla touched her aunt's arm. "What you did, it changed things. Like, really changed things. Kids at school look at me different now. They want to know what it's like having a superhero for an aunt." Denise laughed. "I'm no superhero, honey. Just someone who got tired of being pushed around. That's what makes you a hero, though. You were scared, but you did it anyway." They selected a beautiful pendant, silver wings spreading into flight. As they approached the register, other shoppers stepped back, insisting they go first. The cashier carefully wrapped their purchase, adding a second small box. "This is a gift from us," she explained, "to apologize for everything." Denise started to protest, but the girl's earnest expression stopped her. "Thank you. That's very kind." More people had gathered outside the store, forming an impromptu reception line. An older woman pressed cookies into Denise's hands. A man in a business suit stopped to thank her for exposing the corruption. Parents pointed her out to their children, explaining who she was. "See? That's the police captain who stood up to the bad guys." Walking toward the exit, the crowd grew larger. Someone started clapping. The sound spread, filling the mall with applause. Denise felt Kayla squeeze her hand. Security held the doors open as they approached. Outside, The late afternoon sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. The applause followed them into the parking lot. Kayla clutched her shopping bag, grinning. "This is like a movie ending or something." Denise smiled, thinking of everything that had happened. The fear, the anger, the betrayal, but also the courage, the solidarity, the victory. She thought of Maya, recovering but already working on her next story. Of Tiana, whose video had helped spark a movement. Of all the people whose lives had been touched by this fight. "You know what, baby girl?" Denise squeezed her niece's shoulder. She kept her voice low, meant just for Kayla. "This fight isn't over. But we've won today." The setting sun caught the silver wings of Kayla's new necklace, making them shimmer like hope taking flight. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.